Greetings loyal subscribers and honoured guests. Welcome to episode 3 of my Compilation Station series dedicated to Rare Replay. This episode will be focusing on Slalom, a fun little game that was originally released on the NES back in 1987. It was one of the earlier Black Label games for the system and was programmed by Chris and Tim Stamper, the founders of Rare themselves. The music was composed by none other than David Wise of Donkey Kong Country fame, and this was the very first game that he worked on for Rare. Prior to being released on the NES, the game had been playable in arcades the year before under the name Versus Slalom, running on Nintendo's Versus arcade hardware. It could be found in the standard red tent machines, as well as modified cabinets that had ski poles for the joysticks, and the front part of skis that you would put your feet in. Here's some text taken from a flyer advertising one of these special cabinets. Versus Slalom, step up to the challenge. Nintendo takes you to the top of the mountain in this exciting new entry to the Versus system of fast-action, high-earning games. But one look at the Versus Slalom cabinet tells you that this is no ordinary video game. That's because players actually stand on skis mounted to a teeterboard base and hold on to ski poles inserted through the control panel. Together, these realistic ski features control a player's directional movement, jumps, and quick turns and speed. And just as you'd expect from Nintendo, all this realism, all this player appeal, can be yours without a lot of headaches. Conversion is fast with dramatic results. The additional ski base and pole hardware required for Versus Slalom can be attached to your existing Versus system cabinets in less than 30 minutes, right on location. That's all it takes to get your players up and running on an obstacle-filled course against time. And just to help bolster the competitive spirits, Versus Slalom offers 21 high score records to challenge players on its 24 exhilarating runs. Versus Slalom, one of the hottest contenders for video profits ever to come out of the starting gate. Moving on to the gameplay, Slalom is quite a tough game to get used to, but it's pretty enjoyable with some practice. You control the little skier at the bottom of the screen as he attempts to bomb his way to the bottom of the mountain within the time limit. On the way there are slalom gates as you would expect, and going through these gives you a speed boost. This is invaluable on some of the later stages if you want to make it to the end in time. There are also other skiers to avoid, idiots on snowmobiles, snowmen, and of course the number one killer of people going way too fast on a mountain with planks of wood strapped to their feet, trees. The faster you're going, the twitchier the controls get, but you have to be going at a decent pace in order to make it to the bottom before time runs out. So it's a delicate balance of control and speed. As well as steering left and right, you also have a jump button, useful for avoiding near-death situations. When you do inevitably get hit by something, by carefully pressing the button just as you're about to hit the ground, you can land on your feet, saving valuable seconds. The graphics are very nicely defined and look great in HD, as you can see here. The sense of speed and the sprite scaling effect is quite impressive for such an old game. Wise's soundtrack is catchy and definitely has that 80s arcade game vibe. There is quite a lot of gameplay to be had from Slalom, as the game features 3 progressively difficult peaks that each contain 8 ski runs within them. Though the later runs are really just harder variations on the earlier ones, that's still a lot of levels for a game from 1987. On my first few games I was lucky to get to the 4th run of the easiest peak, although after playing for a few hours I did get noticeably better. Of course, the older games in the Rare Replay collection allow you to cheat by rewinding the gameplay for up to 10 seconds, something I have to confess I did exploit in an attempt to earn all of the milestones. Speaking of those, they weren't really all that taxing to get, apart from the one that you get simply for playing for the first time. The others mostly consist of playing the game long enough to unlock them. There's one for earning 100 freestyle points, which you get for doing stunts in midair, which can be yours for a small amount of effort. Then there's one for earning 500 points from time left over on the clock. This will take a while, but it's quite achievable in the long run. The hardest one is one for beating every single run in the game, and it still eludes me even with the rewind cheat. There is one single run that I have still to finish, which is the final one from Peak 2. Around the middle of the stage there are a series of densely packed slalom gates, and should you miss too many you will lose a lot of time, making it impossible to get to the finish line before time runs out. I will keep trying and hopefully soon I will succeed. Finally we have the snapshots. All of these were surprisingly easy, and it took me no more than 2 or 3 attempts at the most to earn them. They included things like going down a run with lots of humps and earning a certain number of freestyle points without falling, to getting to the bottom of a more difficult run with less than 3 falls in total. Compared to Jetpack, they were much easier to pass. So then, overall Slalom is pretty enjoyable, but the difficulty can be quite challenging when you try and play it properly without exploiting the rewind cheat. There is no way I would ever have got to the bottom of even the easiest peak without cheating. It is very impressive from a technical point of view though. Overall, I think it is worth a solid 7 out of 10. So that's it for this episode. I will probably continue with these smaller, simpler games for a couple more episodes, though I will also be playing through Cameo Elements of Power in the meantime, so I can make an episode about it soon. In the meantime, take care.